today's video, I will be addressing a few questions that I get asked often about my children, and that's pretty much how do I get them to eat healthy foods all the time? How do I get them to avoid wanting sugary things or salty things or, snack foods all the time? And so in today's video, I will be addressing that. I will preface this by saying that I was definitely a picky eater as a child, right? But these few tips have helped me with my 5-year-old, my 3-year-old, and my 10-month-old currently. So stay tuned for the tips. Y'all, hey, if you're new here, I'm Shadiamond. And on my channel, I share videos about motherhood, lifestyle, and homeschool things. So if any of that interests you, make sure you hit the subscribe button and like this video for more. I want to start this off by a little backstory, right? So as a child, I only ate things that was plain. So say for instance, if I had a hamburger, it would only have cheese on it. If I had a hot dog, it would only be the hot dog and the bread. And this was not the case all the time. So I started off initially like just eating ketchup, right? And then over time I was like, I don't like that anymore. Or I had to have like a very little dot of ketchup. And it was more so that maybe the smell, I don't know, I was so big on textures and stuff. So even with like salads, I never had a salad growing up. The closest thing I get to a salad now is going to Chopped and getting like kale with chicken and rice and just mix it all up with salad dressing. But like it was a texture thing for me, and smells are really big for me. And so I'm like, I don't like the smell of ranch. I didn't like the smell of Thousand Island or anything like that. I'm like, whoo, it's been like this all my life. And so I didn't realize just how picky I was until I, started to watch my husband eat certain things, right? So I didn't even have like a mango or a cherry until like a few years ago. And so I'm just giving you my backstory so that it can make you feel like, okay, this is accomplishable, right? So I knew that, going in with Eliana, I had to make some changes in terms of nutrition, what I was eating and stuff like that. So I was super healthy, eating all of the nuts, no snacks, no cakes, anything like that. And I was just, I wanted the best for her, right? And I feel like that I had to nourish my body during pregnancy to give her the best. And once, I had her, I started breastfeeding. I was still eating really well, taking the vitamins and stuff that I needed and stuff like that. And so I was like, since I started this off this way, I need to finish it off. And so when it was time to introduce solids for her, I started with baby led weaning, and it pretty much went from there. So my first tip is going to be to try out baby led weaning. And if you aren't familiar with that, baby led weaning is pretty much you give your baby what you eat as a family, right? So it's not a sense of you cooking separate meals for them, but more so introducing them to foods that you get, so you won't have to do separate meals. And this means skipping the purees, skipping the baby processed foods, skipping all that stuff that you get in the stores, and introducing them to different textures, different tastes, different colors, and stuff like that. And so that's the route that I went with that, right? And I realized, since this is my 3rd time doing baby led weaning, that has definitely helped with my children in terms of exploration, getting different textures, different colors, and all of that, because that's very important. I was stuck on just certain textures, or if it don't smell good, or if I think it's not going to be good, I didn't eat it. And that stuck with me, and it's still, I still do that now. But by baby led weaning, your child is able to feel the food, squish the food, touch the food, and it's not an expectation that they have to eat everything. It's not an expectation that they have to like everything, but it's more so you want to get them familiar with food, because food before one is just for play. Honestly, it's an introduction. You can start serving a variety of foods, and you can see what your child like, what they don't like. Allow them to be independent with how they feed themselves, how much they get, and stuff like that. So baby led weaning is my first tip if you have a baby and you want to prevent like them being picky. Baby led weaning, that's the way to go. And you try to introduce foods that you don't even like yourself, right? So for me, I was never a big carrot fan. I was never a big avocado fan. I was never a big what else? I don't know. Those two are 2 main things, right? But for baby led weaning, I would steam carrots and give it to them. I would cut up avocado and give it to them. And it's not like I didn't like the avocado. It was more so the texture. So texture is big for me. So tip number 2 is to offer a variety of foods, and I just covered that in baby led weaning, but that means like different fruit, veggies, meats, textures, smells, tastes, the way you display things. So say for instance you have carrots, you can have raw carrots, you can have steamed carrots, you can have chopped up carrots, you can have I don't know, carrots drizzled in something. But it's like, you know, you introducing it in different ways so that your child can get a feel of, okay, I've seen it this way, I may not like it this way, but if the plate is decorated, I may like it that way. And so that's the biggest thing. Offering things that you probably wouldn't necessarily do on a day-to-day basis, but if you get them started early with the right foods and the foods that you want them to eat, then it'll carry on as they grow older. My next tip is to be open to the foods that you're wanting your child to eat. And this was a big one for me because it was like, children naturally gravitate towards what you're eating. They want to taste, they want to bite it. But if they only see you eating processed foods, if you're eating, I don't know, chips and chocolates and candies all the time, then naturally they're going to want to eat what you want to eat, right? And so sometimes we feel like as moms, we have to feed our children what we're eating because they're asking for it. But if you know that you want to set your child up for success and to be healthy, then maybe change that out for a salad, a fruit bowl, something new, and at least taste it, right? Because your children are more likely to eat what you eat because they want to be like mommy, they want to be like daddy, and they're very open to it, as opposed to you eating something totally different and then giving them a healthy option, right? So it's kind of like we have to model the behavior we want for our children, and that's the way that I go. So although I didn't have a diverse palate, my husband did, and so my children were able to try different dressings and sauces that I would have never you know, ate before. They were able to explore different textures, you know, and stuff like that. So I really give a lot of credit to my husband for, you know, branching out and just, you know, doing all this extra stuff that I still don't like to do. But I knew that I wanted them to be exposed to things that I was not exposed to. And I knew I wanted them to, you know, eat the things that is beneficial for their body. And so that's the way that we went about doing it. My next tip is to let your child shop with you or cook with you. This is big for toddlers. You know, once they get past 18 months, 2 years old, they want to be in the kitchen. They want to help you put up groceries. They want to mix things, pour things, whatever the case may be. And so this is a great opportunity for you to kind of like let them get that thing that you want to introduce. Say for instance, they don't like the look of strawberry or feel the strawberry or rinse off the strawberry. They're more likely to, you know, try the strawberry. Even something as simple as making a smoothie, right? So if you have different fruits that your child may not try, like fresh, putting it in a smoothie frozen and having them pour those ingredients in there, it may encourage them to drink that smoothie. So this is a tip that I still use now, letting the girls try different things and also being in the kitchen cooking with me, because we all know they want to feel included. And if they have a say-so in what they're eating or drinking, then it's a lot easier, as opposed to we're just forcing it on them. Which leads me to my next tip. Do not force them to eat foods, right? And as much as it sounds like, no, I'm the parent, I'm the mom, I'm gonna, you know, they're gonna do what I say do, right? It'll give them a bad relationship with food. Because if you want to give them a cookie and you say they have to eat all of their food on their plate that they don't like, the texture is off, you know, it's different for them. It's going to be very hard on down the line to get them to eat their food when there's not any bribery, when there's not any snacks, any cookies, any distractions, right? So sometimes our children will overfeed themselves to get that dessert that they want, or sometimes they would just go on a strike in general and be like, I don't want to eat anything unless it's this, right? And so we want to avoid that. Baby Let Winnie has taught me that. Sometimes my son, he's 10 months, he'll eat all of his strawberries or all of this and all of that and leave the rest on the plate, right? And so it's giving me a sense of, okay, sometimes they don't need a lot. They'll come back to it later, or they just need to be exposed to it again, right? And my next tip is to reintroduce foods that they did not like initially. And so I have a very, very recent example of my son. I introduced strawberries to him about 2 weeks ago, right? And he just looked at it, he smushed it, you know, he bit into it, he didn't like the texture or the taste, you know, it's kind of distinct, right? And so that whole first day, he just did not want anything to do with strawberries. I gave it to him again, I chopped it up, whatever, and not expecting him to eat it, not forcing it into his mouth, allowing him to, you know, smush it and bite it, spit it out, whatever he wanted to do, I let him did that. And on day 3, it's his favorite, right? He just swapped strawberries for blueberries. He used to eat blueberries all the time. Now, if I put strawberries and blueberries on the same plate, he'll go for the strawberries first. And so that means that sometimes when you introduce things, it have to grow on you. And that's the same thing for children, right? But sometimes putting familiar foods on the plate with the new food, it kind of helps them, you know, feel like, okay, I can do this. This is not totally foreign. And so, yeah. Another thing that may be really cute for your child is to decorate their plate, meaning you can make little faces, or you can cut out different shapes with a sandwich cutter, shape cutter, cookie cutter, whatever the case may be, and make it cute, make it appealing, make it fun. Especially if you're doing a theme of the week or something, you can present their food in a way that is highly engaging or very inviting and welcoming to eat. In this way, it'll, you know, it won't be forceful. It'll be fun. It'll be playful. Also, something that has helped other moms that I've seen thus far is using those plates where it's pretty much separations. So say if it's a regular plate, but it has 3 different sections, right? And so instead of, you know, you displaying all the foods like in one little bowl, mixed up together, maybe separated, have them eat the food individually. So if you had like something like pasta, maybe do the noodles in the sauce and maybe put the meat on the side, or whatever the case may be. If you're doing like a taco bowl, just do all of those ingredients separately. That way they can know what they're eating. They can pick out the things they don't want. And so my last tip is to read books, you know, or show your child different children or different shows, or you know, books where children are actually exploring and reading foods, right? So I have this book right here, Eating the Rainbow, and it's one that I had for my children for baby-led weaning, right? And so this book, it shows different colors of foods, it shows different babies eating foods, and you know, it gives you a place to, you know, teach vocabulary, color, and also just to experiment, right? So when we're in the stores, if they know the name of these fruits or veggies or whatever the case may be, they can point those out, and you know, you can take it home and you can actually cook those things. And it's easier that way when they see someone else that looks like them, like a baby, for instance, trying certain things. They're more privy to want to try it. And this is the same with snacks too. So it works the same way. My children want to try certain snacks if they see other children try it, and I just try to give them an alternative, right? But I try to avoid all processed foods in the very beginning because, you know, that's not a good habit to have, because sometimes they'll choose to eat chicken nuggets and fries over broccoli and sweet potato, which are 2 of the things that I introduce first. You know, I try to introduce foods that I want them to eat all the time with no questions asked, and avoid the snacks, avoid the juice. Like after breast milk, water is the only thing that's offered to them for pretty much the next 2 years of life, right? So hopefully this video was helpful. I didn't want it to be too long. I wanted to share a few tips that I personally used, and yeah, let me know if this was helpful. Drop it in the comments if you have a picky eater, if you were a picky eater, whatever the case may be. Thank y'all for tuning in, and see you in the next video.